Welcome back. You're still watching Prime Morning and the News Flash. It's time for us to get into the discussion segment, and you heard from Kwaku Asante on fellow Ghanaians there on that very unfortunate development in the Savannah region, Agbinyuri to be precise, where the conflict appears to be still raging, and we understand in excess of 30 people have so far lost their lives. The last time we were talking about it, we were mentioning just about 9 people who have unfortunately lost their lives. That number has risen to 31 now, and so many more people, thousands of people have been displaced. People are living at the police stations in and around the, the district, and some are fleeing to neighboring countries, and some very unfortunate reports that you ordinarily would not want to associate with Ghana have been coming in, and I'll share that report with you, with the media in Ivory Coast who are reporting on the incident today. I'll share that with you, but I want us to start with what's happening as far as the newspapers are concerned, the headlines, and then we will get into this very unfortunate development in the Savannah region. Now, in studio with me, I've got Professor Yamga. He's here with me. He's Deputy CEO of EPA. Prof, good morning. Good to have you. And good to have you back. And I also got Senior Member of the Movement for Change, Richard Suma. Yeah. Richard Suma, Senior Member of the Movement for Change. He's also joined us in studio. It's been a while we met you. I think it was about a week or 2 weeks ago. Or 3 weeks ago.
For almost about them. I traveled out a bit.
Okay.
Since I came back, I haven't been here.
Oh, nice. Good to have you back. Good to have you back. Good to have you back.
Pleasure to be here with a learned professor. It's a privilege. Thank you.
Wonderful. Well, great. Let's get into it now. And Richard, I'm going to start with you. Which newspaper have you got?
Oh, I have before me the new finder.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, the new finder. Yes, it simply says that August inflation down by 11.5%. And then it says Ghana rated medium risks for money laundering.
Okay.
Then we say the Bank of Ghana increases dollar supply to banks. Then secondary bond market drops 55% on investor caution. So these are the things we have before.
Well, inflation seems to be reducing.
Yes, inflation is down by...
As far as the numbers are concerned, not sure if... Are you feeling it in your pocket, though? Are you feeling the reduction in the price of goods and services?
No, inflation doesn't simply mean there wouldn't be increment of prices. This simply suggests that the rate at which prices of goods and services has been increasing. So if at this present stage is probably ranging around 11.5%, that simply should tell us that we shouldn't be expecting much more increment of prices and goods and services. So if I go to Abusokan to buy a spare parts of 1,500 today, by the next 2, 3, 4 months, I should just go and get it not anything more than perhaps like 1,700, because the rate at which it's supposed to be increasing.
So the prices are more like stable.
Yeah, it should be a bit stable.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't be prices where you go today, it fluctuates to 1,800, the next time it's around 2,000, the next time. So at that rate, it's difficult for people to plan and project. But if inflation is a bit stabilized, and the rate at which it increases a bit stabilized, it's easier for us all to plan within our disposable income.
Yeah, that's very important. Doc, you've got which newspaper?
I got the Daily Democrat.
Okay.
Among the headlines, it's let us fight illicit financial flows. The NDCP Director General says. We have Kofi Adams recess Black Star spending for transparency and cost reduction. We have the government pushes 24-hour economy agriculture strategy through Volta Economic Corridor program. I think these are the standout headlines in there.
I think and it captured one of the major developments this week with the sports minister unveiling the budget for the Black Stars, and that has generated a bit of controversy in town. We are not used to knowing what the Black Stars budget is, but this time around it has been disclosed, and it seems the FA is not particularly happy about the way the minister went about it. They say they will respond to the minister.
Yeah, there are two things. As a sports person myself, as I said, I have a football club, so you need to balance the thing. Much as we want to live within our means, no sector should be spared from these cuts and resets. And yes, it is painful, but the sports is not security. It's not national security that the budget should be hidden from the rest of us. So if there is the move to make it more transparent, fine. But we should also do that within the context of the game and work with the stakeholders. I feel that managing the national team is a very, very difficult thing.
Yeah.
And if you find yourself in the management team, I think that it's a lot of investment of time, of skills, and competencies that you would have spent several years and resources to acquire. So I think that saying you're not going to pay them as a sports person is not. Sometimes I have to go sit in my team there, watch them, because when I'm there, they don't lose games. So there are certain people who come into the team and then they bring a certain spirit.
So the idea of
not paying them,
management committee bonuses.
I want to differ a little bit based on the knowledge I have about the management of football.
All right, great.
But I think that our budget should be made known, and we should live like every other Ghanaian. Try to show how we spend the dollars, the tax cedis they put on us, especially when you do them in foreign currency.
Interesting. Well, I've also got the Punch Africa here, and it's got the picture of the Deputy Majority Leader, Ricky Hagen. He is now also the board of the Ghana Revenue Authority, and they stormed Temahabo to ascertain challenges in revenue mobilization. And that's on the front page. And also here is the Agric Minister. He says government to terminate Pwalugu Dam contract, according to the Agric Minister. And lawyer Anoche Frimpong, increasingly famous historian in Ghana, says Tokonu is expected to lose all her 22 years of pension after her removal. That's his opinion. We'll try and get into that, if that is something that we should allow to happen to her after 22 years, whether she should lose her pension and all her benefits because she has been removed. We'll get into that. Then Alexander Afenyo-Markin denounces the purported death threat made by Sofo Azoka. And of course, the NPP have written to the IGP because of those comments, calling on the IGP to look into this matter, to call on the NDC vice chairman for an investigation to be carried into it. Then, of course, you talk about the Akwatia by-elections and the result that came from it. Then you've also got the Chronicle newspaper. And there you have MPP must collaborate as a family, that said John Kwame Dodu. And after removal of CJ Tokono, Mahama going after EC boss as well. Chronicle is asking. We're hearing that some petition has been sent to the president regarding the EC chair. And many are suggesting that she might be next to be removed. Well, only time will tell. Then banker steals 164,000 Ghana cedis from Access Bank. Pleas on manhunt for accomplice. Then also, the New Republic newspaper got Pwaman ghost cash for Araba. Imani Boss Claims Committee that removed Tokono rejected life-changing bribes. Hey, interesting. Then Family Health University marks a new chapter for medical education, and Akwalu busted. Political patronage caught napping in a duvet. Well, this relates to Akwalu, who has been picked up by Yoko. We haven't heard anything yet. It appears he's not been released from the grips of the Yoko. He might still be there as of this morning. We'll try and bring you update as and when we get it. But Yoko has become very active in recent time. Then, of course, 9 tycoons fear government acts. Chamber of Mines warns of unfeasible projects and high grading disaster. So that's it on the Chronicle and the few newspapers we've got here. But let me take you now to Ivory Coast, where I came across this story also, and it has to do with the Binyiri clashes. And it's not something we are used to. If you can have the Binyiri image 1 and 2, but let's start with the 1, and you see this very, very story. And we're going to show it. And if you look at the caption, it says, Ivory Coast donates to Ghanaian refugees. Ivory Coast donates to Ghanaian refugees. And this has generated some conversation on so many platforms, social media platforms. People are wondering, are there, because it sort of has reawakened people to the awareness that, yes, something is happening in that part of our country. And we're going to see the story very shortly. And it has even gotten people pressuring the government to do more, on this very issue. If the image is ready, we can just take a look at it. Great. Okay, understand it's on your screen, and you can see it on your screen, there. So you can see it on your screen there. It's a very unfortunate development there. So Côte d'Ivoire donates aid to Ghanaian refugees. All right, this is worrying, and this is an online news portal in Ivory Coast. And if you look at the story, the details of the story, you can give me the second image. You look at the details of the story. It says Côte d'Ivoire is providing assistance to Ghanaian refugees who have fled an intercommunal crisis in Ghana's Savannah region. The refugees have sought safety in the northeastern parts of the country, specifically Bouakene region. Niale Kaba, the Ivorian Minister of Economy and Planning, expressed her solidarity with both the Ghanaian refugees and the local people of Bouakene. On Sunday, August 31, she sent representatives to the towns and apparently made some donations. Look at the things they went to give them. Donation included 3 tons of rice, 100 mats, 260 buckets, and 2 cartons of oil. And he says with this gesture, Minister Kaba hopes to ease the burden on the displaced families and support the host community in their act of kindness. So this is a very unfortunate development, really unfortunate development, because we understand that 31 people have lost their lives in that regard. Now, I want to touch base with our correspondent in the Savannah region. He's been following this development very closely, Isaac Nyonya. He's been following this very closely. I also have to mention that Prof, your friend Dr. Adomako Kissi, is also joining us on Zoom. And of course, maybe you want to know where he is at the moment.
Definitely, yeah. I'm sure he's still recovering from what happened. He doesn't want to show up here today.
We'll get to talk to you about it. But let me touch base with Isaac Nyonya. Isaac, good morning. Thank you very much for joining us. I mean, can you share with us the latest as far as the development in Binyiri is concerned? We understand that the conflict has extended to about 12 communities at this point. What do you have to share with us regarding this development? Isaac, can you please unmute yourself?
I said 12 communities is an understatement.
Wow.
In the sense that those in Sola alone are more than 20 communities. And I'm covering 2 districts like Sola, Tuna, Kalaba, and that of Bole. Bole also contains more than 12 communities. So we are talking about close to 50 to 56 communities in the 2 districts. At the moment, for Binyiri and that of Kalaba, these 2 are ghost towns. People have not returned. And there's no any chance that any moment from now, people will return. Those who will return, we can confirm that will be women and their children, because they are still around. A good number of them are in the camp created at the Sola district behind the police station. You will not see the men, those that you can see who are men are the grown-up. You know, those who are weak and cannot run, although the police did well by bringing them in their buses to the community to stay for safety. When you look at Binyiri itself, apart from the security personnel, you will not see a single soul there. If you go to that of Calabar, you see all the stores locked. You won't see a single soul from the other faction. Now, you can only see people around the chief palace and then his relations. Beyond that, you will not see people there. And if you go to the district, all the communities that have bought or that keep the people from the other factions have all left. You see people that who think that they are not a part of the conflict. And the symbols of that is a red handband. They tie this red handband on their shops, their houses, even their motorbikes, showing that they are not part of the conflict. And that is it.
I mean, in terms of the numbers relating to the people who have lost their lives, you're hearing in excess of 30 people. Can you, and you know, also about the number of people that have been displaced? I mean, the last number I came across says about some 10,000 people. Are these numbers you can confirm?
Well, if you are talking about internal displacement, according to Ghana Red Cross Society and that of NADMO, where as of 5 days ago, the number was 48,005 people that have been displaced who have reported to the camp and registered with the Ghana Red Cross. But beyond this, the number is more than 100,000 because at the first time we visited Côte d'Ivoire, the figures the authority they gave was 14,000 in Côte d'Ivoire alone. Now, if Côte d'Ivoire is 14,000, the Ghana here, Sola, is 48,005. What about those who have moved to Upper West, the Bono regions, and what have you? That is the point now. So the displacement is due. And you know, in the issue of conflicts, when anyone who has the chance or the authority to confirm to you about a death toll is either the police. It's the police that can confirm that. But if you go to the mortuary of the Sola-Tunakaba district, it's full.
The mortuary
is full.
The mortuary is full.
And it's full. Sola is full. We went there, and the doctors told us that the place was full. They extended their reach to the Damago Hospital, and then one Bole is not working. Wanchin, other areas, they are there. Before I forget, if you go to Wanchin and Techimai, there are other camps there. They have created camps there for these refugees. And many of them are women and children, thousands of them. So for the death toll, we can tell you, though we can't confirm, what we are hearing for the local, the number is more than 200 according to the locals.
Of people who have
been managed.
You say according to the locals, the number of people who might have lost their lives is in excess of 200 people.
It's more than 200 because on Sunday, when the incident happened, when we got to Binyiri, the community that the thing started, people around, even among the security, sources say that the number was 150. When we got to Calabar, as of the time we leave Calabar between 10 and 11 p.m., they said the number had exceeded 200. But this is something we cannot confirm because authority needs to confirm this and come out clearly.
Yeah.
And what the people are concerned is that the figure is being massaged, and we think that they are doing this for a good reason because sources within the security will tell you that they don't want the thing to escalate, and for that matter, they have to manage the figures and manage the process for people to return to prevail and then come to restore for people to return to their very homes. This thing has gone.
Yeah. I mean, I was just asking because that's the last time we spoke to you. We heard that some 300 police personnel had been deployed to the area, and I mean, based on what you've monitored so far, is it a case that it's not been sufficient as far as the security personnel on ground is concerned? Is it not sufficient? Do you probably need a military intervention in the area?
Well, with my lay eyes, I can't tell whether that the figure that deploys is sufficient or not. But listen to the IGP and the effort he has put in place. He has brought additional, I think, 2 buses, personnel in 2 buses, this time to the Bola district. Because those they brought, they limited their measure to only the Solar Combat district, forgetting that the other factions reside beyond that district. And before they could realize, excessive numbers of deaths were recorded in Bole, forcing the IGP to deploy additional officers outside the region to the Bola district.
What about those who have, fled to Ivory Coast? Because reports in Ivory Coast, are saying more refugees are coming in there. What do you know about that situation also?
Yes, where we visited the Bole, Ivory Coast, we spotted a good number of them who are staying in open pavilions, right? And we also spotted some who are still entering the Ghana-Cote d'Ivoire border through Chache. That's the border point. Now, those who we spotted there, they told us that they were coming from the border district. Many of them were coming from the border district. And those coming from the Solar, they would pass through the river. Remember, some of them, they both capsized and then they lost their lives. 8 of them were rescued. So those from Bole will go through Chache and then cross over to the Ivory Coast. Now, between the hours of 12 and even 1 a.m., you see these people, residents or victims, footing, not knowing where they're going and not expecting to move out from the region and, for that matter, the 2 districts. So those in Ivory Coast, a good number of them are sleeping in the open. We spoke to some of the people, a man and his child, who told us that, look, due to the open nature of the place and the weather, you will hear children crying midnight, all because of the weather. And the following day, you hear that such children have passed on. Wow. But the authority there shown a camp that they were trying to allocate to these people to move in. By looking at the second visit, it appears these people are still living and sleeping in the open. Now, the question is, if it rains, what happens to them?
All right,
What happened
Isaac.
to the children and the older people among them?
Yeah, well, Isaac, thank you very much. Really appreciate the great work you're doing. We'll come back to you, I'm sure, hopefully, in the course of the day for more update. But we've also been joined by the Regional Minister of the Savannah region, Honorable Salisu Isufu, has also joined us now. He's been busy, trying to handle this very situation. He visited the, Ghanaians who have fled to Ivory Coast, interacted with the Ivory Coast officials. Let's just speak to him briefly, and I'll come to you, Prof. and Richard, on this very issue. Honorable, good morning. Thank you very much for joining us. And, I mean, what can you report as far as dealing with this situation is concerned? Have you made any progress so far? Because the report doesn't, sound encouraging at all.
Good morning to you, the esteemed listeners. I can say that the report is encouraging based on the varied interventions made by various people. And indeed, as we speak, for the past 6 days, there has not been any shooting, there has not been any gunfire, there has not been any fighting in any community whatsoever within the Savannah region. And this is very, very positive. Thanks to the multi-high-level stakeholder engagements, which actually engage the various parties on same. Thanks to the various youth authorities from the various CAPs, especially the youth groups, the Gunjaland Youth Association, and that of the Breford Youth Association, and their Council of Elders. But most importantly, thanks to the King of Gunjaland, Yebonwura Bikunuto Jewu the First, and his paramount chiefs. They have made very huge concessions and indeed have restrained the various warring parties to this conflict. And
Honorable. Now, I mean, we understand in excess of 50,000 people have been displaced, and I'm sure you know the situation on grounds much more than I do. I mean, children, women have been displaced, and they've been moved out of their comfort, their homes, and the condition under which some of them find themselves is quite unfortunate. We've seen the reports of some of them in Ivory Coast also trying to flee. I mean, based on the plan you have at the moment, when should we expect things to return to normal?
Yes, like the reporter indicated, within the Solar district, those who reported in excess of 48,000, we've had that. But when we visited Côte d'Ivoire, Voncrove for the first time, we're given a figure of 10,000. But just 2 days ago, when we visited again to engage the authorities, they gave us a figure of over 13,000 people. At the Voncrove there, they had a shelter which is provided, that is a school block, 3 classroom block. And of course, there's a market with pavilions, and these are the places that they are actually using. But they provided another shelter for us. So it means that there's work ongoing, and indeed, based on our interaction, we are hoping and praying that in less than a week or 2, there would be normalcy. People will begin to return to their various communities, albeit piecemeal, because this is based on issues of trust and assurance. And this trust and assurance naturally cannot be provided by the state security alone. They ought to be built within the people who are at war in this instance. Thankfully, we are getting that level of engagement, level of understanding that is coming up. And today, as we are speaking, there is a high-level Breford leadership led by the Council of Elders and Youth Leadership coming to the King. And we are hoping and praying that their coming would further cement the existing relationship which exists between the people prior to this conflict. This is something that we are actually working at, and by the grace of God, we hope that things will return to its normal nature, and we'll get the best out of this situation.
What about the people who are now living in makeshift camps? I mean, do you have sufficient food and, basic amenities for them? Because the numbers you are mentioning, very high numbers. Is there sufficient support being provided by NADMO or do you want to make a call to private individuals to come in and also support?
We are actually looking out for various individuals, governmental and non-governmental organizations to come to support. But as we speak now, NADMO and the National Security, they provided some food items for them. But of course, because it's an ongoing process, those food items cannot be enough for all of them at the same time. Based on our interactions with our Ivorian authorities, they've also given us an assurance that they would be able to also support with the little that they can do, and they'll do everything within their means to make life comfortable for them. And that's why you are hearing news of over 3 tons of food supply with other items to the displaced people. And this is something that is ongoing, even within the areas whereby they are not in camps. There are other people who are displaced and they are living with relatives from different communities within the district. All these people need to go back to their communities, properly settled, and interact with each other. And this is something that we are working at very seriously. And we are keen to making sure that we overcome this situation within the shortest time.
Honorable, what arrangement, if any, is being made for particularly the young people who ordinarily will be in school at this point? Is there any arrangement being made for them?
Yes, we are in consultation with the Regional Directorate of GES. Some of the communities which used to have teachers, indeed the teachers for a few of their lives, also move out. But where they are having this camps, we are hoping that we are able to put up some makeshift infrastructure for them to be able to engage them, albeit temporarily. But we are hoping that it will not last long. If it is within a week or 2 or 3, when we are able to get that kind of perfect reintegration of our people back to their communities, life will now begin to run normally, and these people given the needed education that is required, and therefore the schools will begin to run. This is what we are actually hoping and working at.
Well, Honorable, we wish you the very best in dealing with this situation, and we hope that we can see some normalcy return to the community. Thank you very much for your time this morning. Honorable Salisu is the regional minister, the Savannah regional minister, and he's just joined us. Let me come to the studio now and bring Prof in. Prof, I mean, very disturbing development, and I also acknowledge Honorable Adomako Kissi. Doc, let me just touch base with him, because you said he's not coming to the studio because of Akotia by-election. Let me see if that is why he's not in the studio. Doc, good morning. Thank you very much for joining us. But your brother, Prof Sayango, says you're not here because of the Akotia by-election.
In fact, let me also say good morning. And it happens to be 12 midnight where I'm at to handle this program. So it shows you how dedicated I am to him. Let me also, in the interest of your program, say that the education about the conflict is very important. And it will take media to also help reduce the tensions. So I'm saying kudos for what you're doing with regards to the conflict.
Wonderful. Prof, let me come to you. You know, you've heard from our correspondent, you heard from the minister, you've seen the reports. I mean, what's running through your mind?
Yes, in twofold. First, no conflict is justified. My position is always that we can find a way of resolving our disputes. More so when these conflicts emanate from natural resources, land and other things, it's depressing. And if you see them also coming from northern Ghana, where we engage in conflicts and destroying the little we already have, it's also another worrying signal. But as I said, these things are usually tensions that build over the years. And you can't predict how they turn out once the trigger is pulled. And once one small skirmish somewhere now feast on the historical tension, and then you have things spiraling out of control. And you see, when conflicts occur, people run in different directions, looking for safety. There is no formula in how they move. So you are going to find them all over the place, trying to exit wherever they think there's a way. And it's very difficult to plan a response to such a situation. I saw your story about what is happening in Côte d'Ivoire, and you know, once they cross the border, they're in another jurisdiction. And by the Convention of Refugees. You know that they
automatically become refugees.
Yes, the host nation has to
take care of them,
and then we maybe now have to support on the background. And I'm happy steps are being put in place to do that. What worries me is sometimes we, those who lead, and we, those who are in the spotlight, if we do not take a peacemaking stance, and we tend to see political opportunity, and we tend to see something that we can build on and keep the factions going because we want to benefit, then that's where the problem comes. But I want to commend His Excellency for the swift action. You see, the Honorable Boyurabe said something. Anyway, good morning to him. He and I started our media things together several years back. It's good to see him again. Said something that we should all not gloss over. That over the week, they have not seen gunshot. That is how you solve conflicts. Once you stop the source of the movement, then you can then plan the return of the refugees, which we can do. And it's also a matter of trust. You have to trust that the security there can provide safety. And then also the warring factions have seen a middle ground and would want to exploit the path of peace rather than conflict. These are the two things that we need in order to bring people back. There is no amount of planning, no amount of relief, no amount of logistics and donations that can bring life close to normalcy for anyone who is a refugee. So much as we can provide tents and food and other things, our effort should be focused on, one, preventing the conflict from going on, two, preventing loss of lives, and three, trying to ensure that there is trust in the system for people to return. That is where our focus should be. And I think that I would like to say the President has shown leadership. NADMO and Regional Security Council has shown leadership. The IGP has responded swiftly, and I think that we need to commend them for this act.
All right, good.
Although it's unfortunate that we have the conflict in the past.
Richard, let me bring you in now. What do you make of all of this?
Well, first of all, I would like to extend my warm greetings to the entire production team of Joy Prime this morning, and to all your cherished viewers out there, to the entire leadership of the Movement for Change, and once again to say hello to Prof. That is a privilege to be sharing the platform with him this morning. Well, you see, most of these things, we must not be allowing it to fester in our society. Why am I saying so? If you look at a country and the reputation of a country, it all depends on how peaceful you are, how you've been able to resolve conflict, how you are able to bring all factions together, how you are able to foster unity, and the ultimate enemy of every society is poverty. And if you look at our brothers at the northern part of the country, and especially where this conflict is emanating from, you realize that the primary challenge over there is poverty, unemployment, lack of job opportunities. It is about survival of the fittest up there. And then again, you add salt to injury by triggering some of these needless conflicts. Why are they needless? It's a needless conflict because we are not talking about a religious conflict. We are not talking about a chieftaincy conflict. We are talking about a piece of land. A piece of land that probably the argument is who owns that piece of land. And because of the argument, somebody trigger a fight. And also there are followers of every group of individuals. So if I trigger a fight and I have followers, obviously there will be counter fight because others will also say that we are supporting the other faction. Then
they'll show solidarity.
They'll show solidarity and then it escalates. So I am more going to appeal to our people up there that it is the women and children who mostly feel the brunt of some of these happenings. And it much more deepen the economic woes of the enclave. And how are you going to move away from poverty and get into a middle class group of people? It is about how organized you are within the base. That is how come government attention will come to you for you to be giving all the needed developmental support. But if you are fighting among ourselves, do you know the amount of resources that, as we speak today, that government has to channel into combating this conflict that is happening up there? NADMO has to be equipped financially. NADMO has to be given logistics. The military, the police, whoever is going there to combat the conflict is going to be given logistics.
Money that ordinarily could have been used.
Money that ordinarily could have been used in building some school, building some hospital, building some chip compound, doing some cottage industries over there. These are the things we should be looking at. And then again, too, I want to plead with government that, you see, Kwame Nkrumah made a conscious effort by trying to bridge the gap between the North and the South. But as we speak today, I don't see any deliberate conscious effort from any government to zero in on how we can develop the northern part of this country. Because you see, the northern part of this country has sufficient arable land. And most of the things that comes to the southern part of the country comes from the north. So how are we going to draw a scale of preference? If we zone the country into two, the northern and the southern sector, you realize that the northern sector is actually deprived of many amenities. So even you are posting teachers there, they don't want to go. You are posting doctors there, they don't want to go. You are posting nurses there, they don't want to go. Are they not citizens? Are they not part of the Kwame Nkrumah Ghana that he put together, where tribalism was put to the backbench, where you originate from was put to the backbench? So I want to admonish government that once they are looking at creating sufficient jobs, they should look at the enclave and what are the basic commodities that are produced mainly from these enclaves. You see, the Japans have a model which we call the cottage industries. They identify every localities and see what kind of raw material do you have, and then they create a base for you there to become a small industry where you don't need large-scale machineries to be able to start processing shea butter, start processing shea nuts, start processing cashews, start processing anything that you find in abundance within the northern part.
If government prioritizes development in the area, some of these
it is all about development. You see, they say the devil finds work for the idle hand.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, if we are not prioritizing development in the north, by finding any means necessary to bridge the gap. So if government is even preparing a budget, I would love to see where a vast majority of our budgetary allocation is tailored to the north and how we can be able to combat poverty at the northern part of Ghana. Well, you see, it is only corruption, it is only poverty that triggers some of these things.
Great. Let me just engage the public relations officer of the National Peace Council, because I'm sure they've been busy also trying to resolve this very issue. There are so many issues that I'm sure their hands are occupied with. And here is Mr. Kwesi Urenchi-Boateng. Mr. Urenchi, thank you very much for joining us. I mean, can you share with us to what extent the National Peace Council has been involved in helping resolve this matter in Binyere?
Good morning to you and your listeners and the panelists joining us. Thank you for this opportunity too. In fact, like the other speakers have shared, the regional minister and the others preceding me.
Mr. Urenchi, if you can help us by adjusting your phone a bit upwards, because your face seemed to be a little low.
Okay.
So, yeah, great. So thank you very much. Great. You can go ahead now.
Great. So like I was saying, the Peace Council has been working in tandem or with the regional security forces in the region, and trying to meet stakeholders, engage them to find a resolution to the conflict in the Solar area, I mean, Binyere, to be precise. So we are very concerned. We've been doing the legworks. We've been also been involved in most of the engagement, meeting the Gonja Youth Association, the Pray4, and the others. So certainly, it's been a busy work for our officers on the field. We just pray, like we are also upping our game to up our early warning signals to prevent these happenings. In fact, prevention actually saves a lot.
I mean,
So-
but I mean, independently though, having been on the ground and based on what you've observed, what's your assessment of the situation?
For the past 6 days now, we can report that escalation has, they've been reduced fighting. This gunshot has ceased. We do not hear much of it, and then the people are willing to engage. And this is where we are a bit happy that those involved, the key actors, are willing to engage. So we are taking our engagement, increasing sensitization, and then, of course, mediation efforts to actually find a resolution to the conflict there.
I mean, interesting. But in the long run, though, what's the plan? You know, especially if you're privy to any, as far as resettling the people is concerned. What's the plan?
So we're working with the regional security forces, the RECSEC to be precise, the NADMO and the others, to give them assurance, give the people assurance, those who have gone to Cote d'Ivoire, and then ensure that, of course, before you bring them, like one of the earlier speakers said, we are working on building trust so that the people coming back, or in coming back, they'll be assured that their lives will be safe. There wouldn't be further attacks. So this is where we are really working on the trust building aspects, and then, of course, further engagement with those involved in the issue.
I mean, also to sustain the peace in that very district and in those communities, and even in that part of the country, because we know the crisis in Boko, at least that seemed to have, subsided a bit now, but there are a few clashes, pockets of violence here and there in that part of our country. I mean, what do you think? Of course, I mean, Richard just made the point about development and how development can be a major solution to some of this conflict. Is this something you also agree? And based on your assessment, what kind of development do you think will help?
Okay, so development, I would like to expand on it. So development in terms of access to social amenities, development in terms of mental awareness, and then understanding that living peacefully actually brings us all together and then helps improve upon our livelihoods. And then thirdly, development in terms of how we work together. Although we may not all come from one zone, speak one language, we find ourselves in a zone, in an area, we need to live together, work together peacefully. So certainly, and of course, this translates in how we even view ourselves and interact with ourselves. So certainly, all this will factor into the development. It's not necessarily about putting buildings into it. The development ought to translate in the well-being of our people there. So certainly, it's a concern to us. We flagged most of the issues. I think currently on our data, chieftaincy is leading in terms of the conflict. We are recording 168 conflict in the country. I mean, with respect to chieftaincy, land and resources is another we are also monitoring. Of course, like it happened in Binyere and the others. We are closely working on that. Like you rightly said, for us to actually address the conflict situation and prevent conflicts, we need to listen more to each we need to listen more, work together, and address some of these teaching issues before they escalate. And that's the mandate of National Peace Council. We are doing our best to also facilitate efforts to prevent conflict from happening in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, and just finally, though, you were talking about the key sources of conflicts and, you know, the raging conflict you're dealing with, chieftaincy, land dispute. Care to share with us some of the other issues the Peace Council has been busy with?
So we've also been busy with like you said, we looked at land boundary conflict. I think we are recording 57 there throughout the country. And then, of course, religious conflict, 11, political and election related, we are recording 28. And then resource conflicts, like we experienced in Galamsey areas and the others, 36. And of course, a chieftaincy land related to, we have 48 deaths. So these are, so in total, we are having 429 conflicts throughout the country that we are working on and resolve.
Well, we wish you, we are wishing you the very best. Very worrying, but we hope that you live up to your mandate and help, keep this country together. Thank you very much, Mr. Ironchi, for your time.
Before he goes.
Okay, Doc, you want to say something, or you want to ask him a question? Please go ahead.
Yes, he made mention of chieftaincy, land-related issues, and I wanted to bring to his attention the Stoltuom issue where a chief's son has actually been shot and killed. If they've not been there, I want to use this opportunity to plead with them, to visit with the family of the bereaved, and to help us, because it's a very major issue. The whole township is troubled by the incident, and we're hoping that peace will prevail, especially when it becomes related to a chief's son.
Mr. Ironchi, are you familiar with that development in Stoltuom? I think yesterday there was a press conference that was held by some chiefs in the area also.
Yeah, and our regional office is taking steps to work on that. Thanks very much, Doc, Honorable, for actually bringing it up here again.
All right, Mr. Ironchi, thank you very much, and really appreciate your time, and hopefully peace will return to Guinea and to most of the communities around in this country where there are conflict. Now, I want to start with you, Doc, because I want us to move on. I'm sure you want to have a quick bite on the Akwatia by-election. You can do that, but substantially is the the CJ issue. I haven't heard from you on Akwatia yet, because you promised, you are so confident you're going to win it, and what this means for your party going forward. I want to get your thoughts on that so that we can get into the CJ issue, because I want to share with our viewers the journey to the removal of the CJ so that we can refresh our minds on it. But Doc, Akwatia was so unsuccessful for you. Is this a reflection of the state of your party, that indeed you're not ready for any elections at all?
Respectfully, let me be very clear here that I'm one of the people that said that there's leverage when you have a party in power with regards to by-elections. And let me also add that Akwatia naturally swings. So Akwatia has not been a stronghold of the NPP. It's a very swing state where we have NDC. I mean, after Baba Jamal, it went to MPP, and then it went back to NDC, and then it came to MPP. So going by that trend, it was almost following the natural trend in terms of it flipping from one party to the next. Admittedly, let me also state that, whether we like it or not, there's goodwill for the incumbent now, and whether we like it or not. Ghanaians, as it is, when they have the opportunity to vote after there's a determined presidency, they are more likely to go with the party in power. So this is not surprising. But let me also say that with regards to the state of our party, it won't be appropriate to judge our wellness as a party in relation to a by-elections, which is in a swing state. And let me also say that as it stands now, the take-home is that loyalty to party is not 100%, and that we need to, as the MPP, think carefully about the things that was truly patriotic about the MPP, and revisit them, and be more certain that we need to do what it takes to bring our youth back to the party and to make the party attractive again.
All right.
And for me, I think lessons learned, though painful, is that we need to prevent having another by-election. And we pray that there's no more by-election in the next foreseeable years.
Well, the NDC wants Honorable Berthy to stick to his word that he will resign from his seat, although he has apologized. They say they still want him to resign so they can hold the by-election in his constituency. But we'll see how that unfolds. Doctor, just stay in there for me.
That only works in writing. I mean, bravado statements in Parliament, where Parliament is guided by some rules, and if you don't breach the rules, you're always safe. So statements are different. He might have to answer to privileges committee, and that'll be it. But he's not as it is. An oration is totally different from.
Well, they say he should be a man of his words. He should be a man of his words. If he promised, he should stick to it. If he promised,
he's withdrawn his statement. Even in Parliament, we withdraw our statements sometimes.
All right, great. Doc, hang in there for me. And I just mentioned that we've also been joined by Richard Kwame Nomanyo. He's a constitutional lawyer as we get into the CJ. But let's refresh our mind because, we were there. It was on Monday when the news broke that the president has removed the Chief Justice following the committee presenting report into the Daniel Ofori petition. And it took all of us by surprise, especially a day to the Akotia election. But some felt that this was inevitable, that the Chief Justice was always going to be removed. It was always going to be removed. But let's refresh our minds now.
President Mahama received 3 petitions alleging misconduct by Chief Justice Gertrude Torkornoo. The petitions were referred to the Council of State, which established a prima facie case. By April 22, the axe fell. The president suspended the Chief Justice and named Justice Paul Bafo-Boni as acting CJ, with a 5-member committee of inquiry set up to investigate the various allegations. The move, which was the first in the Fourth Republic, set the political and legal arenas ablaze. NPP MP Vincent Ekwa ran to the Supreme Court pleading for a lifeline. But on May 6, in a tight 3-2 decision, the court shut the door. Objections to Bafo-Boni's role were also tossed out. In June, Justice Torkornoo broke her silence, sounding the alarm in a televised address, accusing the presidency of breaching due process.
Unfortunately, every step of the removal process being undertaken against me is being done in a manner that breaks every rule on how justice is delivered in our country.
Not going down without a fight, she filed for judicial review at the Accra High Court, but on July 31, her plea was struck down, deemed an abuse of process and outside the court's jurisdiction. She still pressed on. On July 4, she petitioned the ECOWAS court, claiming human rights violations. The matter was adjourned mid-July. By August end, the verdict was still up in the air. On September 1, the Committee of Inquiry handed its report to the president. By day's end, the gavel had come down. Chief Justice Gertrude Torkornoo was officially removed from office, the first ever to fall from such heights under the Fourth Republic. In March, President Mahama...
So that's it. That's it. Chief Justice Torkornoo is no longer Chief Justice. 22 years on the bench. It's been a journey on the bench, but she's out, completely out. Well, latest to respond to this is the former Chief Justice, Sophia Akuffo. She's a member of the Council of State, and she's been speaking. She says, she describes the process as a rigmarole process. She says she was tried as though she's committed treason, and she completely condemned the act, but just told her to, take it easy, and that God, who is in heaven, will, vindicate her or redeem her. She just said some words, comforting words for her. Let me start with Richard. Richard, I'm not sure what the position of the movement of change is on this very matter, but this is unprecedented in our history, and forever we'll remember it.
Well, before I go to this very important issue, there is something that caught my attention in this paper, which I really just want to take a minute of my time on it. It is about the total number of people who have been knocked down by vehicles this year, pedestrians crossing roads. These are key important issues that we should be spending some time to talk about.
Yeah. I'm sure we'll get to
1,485 people knocked down by car from January to June this year. It is very inappropriate.
Yeah, I think we'll spend some more time on this tomorrow.
It's inappropriate. So education as to how we can be crossing road and children and all this, and drivers who are driving recklessly anyhow, we need to be putting our mind to this thing. If not, we cannot be losing 1,400 people to vehicles are knocked down. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, great.
Well, on this issue of the dismissal of former Chief Justice Tokono, you see, I don't see the hue and cry over this subject matter.
Really?
Of course. You see, the judiciary is made up of human beings. And the Chief Justice is a human being. Whoever the person is, he or she, is a human being. That is why the framers of the Constitution put a clause in there that suggests that if you have a Supreme Court judge, a Chief Justice, who has been appointed to occupy a certain position, they must be able to discharge their duty equitably, fairly, without fear, without favor, without any iota of blemish surrounding their service discharge. Now, who triggered the petition? Was it John Mahama? Was it John Mahama? John Mahama didn't trigger any petition against the removal of the Chief Justice. A citizen of the land who deems it prudent that based on his observation, there is a need for me to petition the president for the removal of the Chief Justice. And now, the removal of the Chief Justice is suggested that is based on stated misbehavior. What is your definition of stated misbehavior?
It's not captured in the Constitution.
It's not captured in the Constitution.
So the committee was left to define
what constitutes a stated misbehavior for you may not constitute a stated misbehavior for me.
So an administrative lapse as in payment of
course, because you see,
the father to the husband and daughter should constitute payments.
That is why I'm saying that even you see, the scale of judiciary is a balanced one. Even your facial expression, your demeanor, your body language as a Chief Justice can constitute a stated misbehavior. Or you don't know?
Really? And it should be a ground for removal of the Chief Justice. Your body language.
That is why I'm saying to you that the judiciary is supposed to be the neutral arbiter. That when anybody finds any problem anywhere, we run to the judiciary, isn't it? So the judiciary, the standard of the Chief Justice cannot be lowered.
But in this specific case, I mean, at least two issues largely were captured there, having to do with the recommendations that were made to the president for the appointment of some judges. The committee says she shouldn't have done that. Then it has to do also with payment to the husband and the daughter because of some vacation they took, which ordinarily they were not supposed to take. You think this should be enough to remove the Chief Justice of the country?
What I'm saying to you is that if you have a Chief Justice of a republic where we all come to agree that there have been certain discharge of her duties, which does not constitute fairness. And if it doesn't constitute fairness, it is incumbent on anybody at all to trigger any process to remove you. And we must also not make the position of the Chief Justice cast in stone that is an untouchable position, because when you do that, you are going to create chaos in this country. Because you don't know when you have a Chief Justice that is not going to discharge his or her duties equitably.
But in this case, I mean, has there been a case that she didn't discharge her duties equitably?
You know, that's why I'm saying that stated misbehavior can also be perception.
But based on the reasons given for her removal, are you convinced that it was
based on the reasons given for her removal, for us at Movements for Change, we don't have any problem with the removal of the Chief Justice at all.
Let me bring in a constitutional lawyer.
The reason why we don't have any problem with the removal of the Chief Justice at all is that the due process of removing her has been followed. If the due process hasn't been followed, then we will say that it's a breach of the constitutional stated clauses or stated laid down procedures. But once none of those stated laid-down procedure has not been flouted, why should we have a problem?
Great. Let me bring in a constitutional lawyer. And Prof, I'll come to you on this because, I mean, your government is getting a lot of backlash for this. And all those others believe that the process has been followed duly. That's the argument you're making, that, well, you just follow the process. But some say you've committed a grave sin. And the NPP are saying that when they come to power, you've just created a precedent that they might follow. But let me bring in lawyer Richard Kwame Nomanyo. He's a constitutional lawyer. I mean, Mr. Richard, from where you sit, though, as a constitutional lawyer, argument about the process was made. The Chief Justice herself, now removed Chief Justice, made argument about the process. She said it was not fair. Then you've seen the reasons that were used to remove her. Are you convinced that, yes, this is sufficient ground for the removal of a Chief Justice?
Thank you very much. Very good morning to you and your viewers. As a lawyer, I believe that I will stick to the law and the process. Now, our Constitution has provided the process for the removal of the Chief Justice. And the question here is that, did we follow the Constitution? Was the Constitution followed to the latter? If the Constitution was followed to the latter, then there shouldn't be any qualms about her removal. Now, under Article 146, the 1+1, the Constitution says that the grounds upon which the Chief Justice can be removed are 1, stated misbehavior, or incompetence, or on ground of inability to perform the functions of his office arising from infirmity of body or mind. Now, if you look at this process, it's mainly hinged on stated misbehavior.
Yes.
Now, one of your panelists just said that the stated misbehavior is not defined. It's defined. When you look at the case of Acheampong versus Attorney General, the Supreme Court has defined stated misbehavior as stated misbehavior broadly to include corruption, abuse of office, bias, or other conduct that undermines public confidence in the judiciary. So our court has defined what constitutes stated misbehavior. So if we followed the Constitution. Now, the Constitution states that when a petition is received, the president should consult the Council of State, and the consultation should establish that there's a prima facie case. Prima facie case simply means that there is a cause to answer, there is a case to answer. Therefore, come and answer. Come and tell us why an action should not be taken against you. Now, when that is established, the committee should be set up, a committee of 5. 2 Supreme Court justices, and then 3 other persons who are not lawyers and who are not members of parliament. Okay? Now, this committee of 5, we have 2 Supreme Court justices on the committee. So the committee is chaired by the Supreme Court justice.
Yeah.
So this her own colleague, two of her own colleagues were on the committee. And now the procedure is also clear, that the process should be held in camera. Now, when the process is held in camera, the Constitution has further provided that she should be granted hearing. And the Constitution has made it clear that she can even come in with her lawyers, her experts, and any witness she deemed necessary to exonerate herself. Now, when the committee is done with its work, it is incumbent on the committee to determine whether or not upon all the processes, there is basis for her removal. Then that is recommended to the president, and the process is clear that if the president receives the recommendations of the committee, the president is bound by the recommendations of the committee.
But then,
so if all these have been adhered to, then it is fair.
Then,
it is fair.
But the bigger argument has to do with the basis of that recommendation and the issues that were highlighted, in that Daniel Ofori petition. I mean, from where you sit, do you think those issues, yes, should constitute statement misbehavior so much that it should be grounds for the removal of none other but the Chief Justice of the land.
Honestly, it's an unfortunate situation for her. Flowing from that angle, I understand how it feels. Did I say understand? It will be a difficult situation after 22 years on the bench. But the fact still remains that you and I were not in the committee meetings. We do not know what transpired in those meetings. We do not know the evidence that was brought to bear in those meetings. It was held in camera. So, the process makes it clear that those camera sittings should not even come out. And the law, there's a decided case that even when there's a leakage as to what happened in the committee sitting, whoever leaked it, when the person is identified, he should be punished. But that should not even nullify the work of the committee. Okay, so like I said earlier, stated misbehavior has been defined by the court.
But let's look at the specific issues. And Doc, I'm going to come to you, Doc, briefly on this because, I mean, you and your party have been clearly unhappy about the situation. But let me come to the specific, Mr. Richard, because one of the issues that were raised there, based on which she was removed, had to do with some administrative issues relating to whether the husband and the daughter should receive per diem. And according to the report, says that the husband and the daughter received monies per diems after following her on a vacation, and they were not supposed to receive this. And some say this is not, what do you call it? This is an administrative lapse. And ordinarily, we see at the Public Accounts Committee, we see somebody surcharged and is made to return the money. It shouldn't escalate to the point where the Chief Justice should be removed. If somebody has received money they were not supposed to receive, which the Judicial Secretary actually sanctioned, then they should just return it. It's as simple as that. But it became grounds for the removal of the Chief Justice. As some said, this is too minute to take out someone as powerful and, you know, as important in our democracy as the Chief Justice.
You see, for me, we can look at this question in two broad ways, okay? The first one is that, does that conduct undermine public confidence in the judiciary? That is the first question. Does it undermine the public confidence in the judiciary? And you see, the Constitution has made it clear that to be a Chief Justice, let me use this word, let me borrow this word, it's not a joke. The Constitution holds the Chief Justice in high esteem, if I can even add, very, very high esteem. So the Constitution says that it should be a person of high moral character. So it should be something without somebody without blemish. So if in the eyes or in the views of the committee, they feel that this constitutes a misstated behavior, then indeed it will suffice. Okay? If stated misbehavior, then indeed it will suffice. Like I said earlier, we don't know what happened at the committee level. You and I were not there. Probably there are some evidence that if they come out now, the argument will change. But probably because of the Constitution and the way the system is designed, we cannot have access to that. Now, in my own view, I feel that the removal of the Chief Justice is too simple. It's too simple in the sense that when you go to other jurisdictions, like the US, for instance, I was trying to check that this morning, just this morning. Before the Chief Justice or a Supreme Court Justice can be removed, one, there has to be a vote, a simple majority vote at the House of Representatives. After the House of Representatives are voted, it now goes down to the House of Senate. And at the House of Senate, there is a total trial. And when the trial is over, the said person who has committed this grave crime ought to have been convicted by a 2/3 majority. So it's a rigorous process.
So the process here where committee looks into it, the president is bound to it, and boom, she's removed. It's too simplistic, isn't it?
It's too simplistic.
Great. Let me bring Dr. Adomako Kissi in on this one. Doc, if you're still there, I mean, you follow this. Even when she was suspended, we heard your comment. You were quite strong on it. Now she's been removed.
Well, I must admit that democracy in Ghana has been, as it is, weakened. And I say this largely because I have always been talking not about the person, but the office that the person holds. I believe strongly that if there's supposed to be separation of powers, then there should be limitation in terms of the ability for the executive to, at any point in time, trigger through a known constitutional procedure to as it is, conduct this injustice. And with the greatest of respect, listen, some of the items that were listed, should we turn the same thing to the parliamentary house, then certainly, forgive me, but that means that the current Speaker of Parliament ought to have also left office a decade ago. I say this not because I'm saying that those travel expenses are right. No. What I'm trying to say is that I think the Canadian Prime Minister, for crying out loud, was asked to return state funds when he traveled, on vacation without buying fuel. So I don't take it lightly. However, the process, the hanging of this Chief Justice has been certainly a big blow to the independence of the judiciary. And it so happens that members of the judiciary also partook in this exercise of reducing their own power that they have under the Constitution.
But they were bound to it. Are they not bound based on, the Constitution? I mean, the formation, the people who constitute the committee, that is what the law says. They ordinarily will have to
They
come
are bound
from...
when the things they are talking about have merit. Even in the Ashanti Kingdom, as the Asantehene is destooling some members, he does it based on not just all kinds of excuses, but things that are of merit and agreed upon by many subjects that this is meritorious. Somebody is damaging their lands, their waterways, and the chief is found to be guilty. That is different. So I would always be that one person that will say that per the office that this woman held, the grounds for her removal are incongruous, unacceptable, and I worry because of the precedents we have set. And we've now augmented the executive authority in Ghana. And for that reason, I think I side with the lawyer in the sense that to get the senators and the Congress to agree to the removal is not a small task. And maybe in the future, Ghana's constitutional review will have to look at that.
But Doc, just a follow-up.
In Ghana, as it stands now, by virtue of the fact that the NDC administration has 2/3, and forgive me, there's a 2/3 that sings to the president, and for that reason, what the presidency wants, they get. But I pray for that day that Parliament will be very independent, that the judiciary of the nation will be more independent. And let me also put on record that the behavior of this administration has just dented and reminded many Ghanaians of the past era and the relationship between the NDC administration, then the PNDC, and the judiciary.
But Doc, but in terms of the specific issues, though,
the judiciary is better in the hands of the NPP administration at any point in time.
Doc, in terms of the specific issues that were raised, or based on which she was removed, is it the case that if the spouse and child of the Chief Justice receives money they were not supposed to receive, and she looked on for them to receive it, if such a conduct is, substantiated to have happened, should the Chief Justice be excused because she's Chief Justice? They say she's supposed to be a woman, based on her office, the demands on her office. She's supposed to have the highest moral character. She needs to be on a very high ground, and things like this must not be associated with her. And that's the point the lawyer made, that things like this might erode public confidence in the judiciary and in the office, for which reason they say no one is above the law and why she was removed.
So are you telling me today that you can tell me on authority that President John Dramani Mahama will not be flying any presidential jets with his family? I mean, listen, let's be Ghanaian first, okay? And are you telling me that if we should go into the annals of the history of the Chief Justices, that none of them have traveled with their family members? Shall I even say that they are nuclear family? Listen, I'm not calling it as right or wrong. My point is that, is it meritorious to remove a whole Chief Justice for something that I can, on authority, tell you that other people holding such high offices are doing?
Great.
Now, I mean, if we want to use her as a scapegoat, it's unfortunate, because I believe that the benefits of the office that she holds may not have been fully disclosed to her, and she may have been following a practice in that office. I stand to be corrected. My key point here is that a travesty has happened, the removal of a Chief Justice by a certain president, on cases that at one point in time were not seen as meritorious to begin with. You understand? And let me be very frank with you that I worry not because it's NDC in power. I worry because we have now set the tone for another president to come and decide that he wants to change the Speaker of Parliament and change his Chief Justice. And this trend is breaking the institutions in this country.
Well, Prof has
damaging.
I mean, Prof has an intervention to make, very quick one. Prof has an intervention to make. Prof,
our democracy.
Prof, you've been nodding to his comments in disagreement. I mean, what's your reaction?
Yeah, Dickson and I are friends, but today I don't know what happened to him. Is it a journey? You see, it's neither here nor there. This is a constitutionally mandated process that any citizen can petition for the removal of the Chief Justice. After that, there is a prescription that the president must follow, which has been followed. The committee has done its work. The Chief Justice has at no point in time been prevented from going into the committee meetings with her lawyers. She called as many witnesses as she wanted. And the determination has been made. And by law, that determination cannot be made public. And that is where we ought to stop. As for the nitty-gritties and the bread and butter issues of the case, it's up for public discussion. And that's what makes a democracy strong. So I can't say people shouldn't dissent. But to say that a sitting president has removed the Chief Justice is, to me, a highest form of dishonesty and hypocrisy, because the president did not remove the Chief Justice.
But the statement
a committee mandated, performing their functions stated in the Constitution, recommended the removal of the Chief Justice, which the president is obliged to implement. So don't bring the president here. You see, let me be very frank here. We are talking about the weight of the accusations. I'm not a lawyer, but in the process of my studies, I have taken law courses here and there, enough to threaten some pedestrians. There is something we all know, which is called the doctrine of clean hands. It says that he who comes to what? Equity must come with clean hands. And in this case, they are not talking about the one presiding over equity. It is me, a plaintiff. If, for example, I go to a court seeking for reliefs, and it has been found in the process that I have not exhibited good faith, and that good faith could be dishonesty, unethical behavior, immoral conduct, I could be denied those reliefs based on these grounds. We are now talking about the one who presides over those who preside over equity. And the grounds are that if there is found that there is stated misbehavior, incompetence, or fiscal harm, you could be removed from office. Here is the case. Flimsy as it may, if the Chief Justice had been found at any point in time to have even taken one CD, it means that her integrity, her morality, her commitment to ethics are flawed. And therefore,
She's supposed to be treated like plantain thieves currently in jail. You go and tell me if we go in Sawam today, we won't find people there because probably they have removed some cocoyam somewhere to eat. Is that not flimsy? So let's be honest here. This is the highest justice position we have in the country. The one that is supposed to hold itself in the highest integrity. So if you are found to be engaging in petty thievery, let me call it that way. Let me just call a spade, then it's a problem.
But Doc, look at it closely.
With all the benefits that come with your office, all the benefits, if you still think that it is smart to take more and travel with your family in business class on vacation, and you think the law shouldn't do that, and then somebody maybe didn't report 1 city or 2 cities, and they bring them to a court that you are presiding over, and you have thrown them in jail. Let's look at it that way. Let's not try to downplay the issues and think that, oh, it's a flimsy thing. Flimsy for what? You take your family on a vacation, in a country that people are struggling to feed, and you are supposed to hold all of us to the highest standard. We say it's flimsy. No, it's the morality we are talking about here. It is the ethics we are talking about here. And if there is the slightest inclination for people to think that this Chief Justice is not worthy of the standards she has held others to, then she ought to move. So let's look at it that way. Let's not say it's weightier or not. The other thing is that constitutional process, due process has been followed, and the committee has made their recommendations, period. No one should bring the president into this one because the president, like he has done in almost everything that he has laid his hand on to do, he's discharged it to the best of his ability in the interest of the people of this country and has actually defended the Constitution. You see, the NPP are saying some things that annoy me. They say when they come to power. For the last 8 years, Ghanaians were being auditioned for hell. There's nothing we haven't seen. They have removed.
We have been auditioned.
We have been auditioned for hell. We have seen the West. We have seen the worst of the NPP. I don't see why we can fear you are threatening people that you come to power and do. What, again? You remove Charlotte Osei. Is that not the same process? I'm not talking to you now. I've heard this over and over again. Dickson, it's not you who have said this, so don't jump in. I'm only saying that I've heard this over and over again, that when they come to power, they will do. There's nothing we haven't seen. You removed Charlotte Osei. Some of the things they are talking about the Chief Justice, some of the things that even drove people to start looking into the Chief Justice's behavior, is a conduct on the bench. You are talking of your right. You presided over a court, stayed in this country for a whole constituency, a whole people to be, their right to vote was taken away. You did nothing. You didn't even constitute the court on a Sunday to look at that. Whereas when it was Judge Equation's issue, you made the Supreme Court sit every day, including Saturday and Sunday.
That's
no, I'm only saying that.
Yeah, but someone saying this is why you have probably
No, I'm only talking about. I'm only saying.
You're making references.
No. If it had been, even had been that, I'll be happy. If it had been that, I'll even be very happy because we are talking of rights here. We are talking of rights here. No, but she's been a Chief Justice since those issues were still pending. The Judge Equation issue. You call the court on Sunday. I don't know people serving in Sawam that you could have even called the court.
Isn't that why people accuse you of, masterminding this? Because you're making reference to. You're making reference
I'm saying that if they had not even petitioned the Chief Justice for the removal, I thought that these are grounds that someone like me.
Because the court sat on a Sunday.
Because the
in a case involving an NDC member.
Here, let's be frank. Let's be very honest.
But that's unfair.
But let's be very honest. It's not unfair.
Because you had a case go against you. You say you
No. It's not the case go. It's the behavior. There was an issue of transfer there. The transfer. Let's be honest. Since they decided to throw the case to the dogs and go into the nitty-gritties of the case that none of us has access to and none of us is privy to, let's go. You talk about transfers. The transfers were done in such a way that it could determine the outcome of a case. It could sway it in one direction or the other. When a judge is about to declare a case, you may transfer the judge. What do you think common sense?
Doc, I think I heard you briefly. You were trying to make an intervention?
Yes. Let me put on record that by virtue of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama making, during the campaign time, that statement that he intends to make changes, I think that this was premeditated. and it has played out that way. But
No,
as it
Dickson,
stands,
no.
he is the president, and he has every right to do what he's done. But I think that democracy has been weakened by the actions taken.
I'm saying democracy has been strengthened. The law is the law. The constitution has been followed to the letter. And if the NPP come and they are following the constitution, we have no problem. We can live with them. If that is the
you also have.
But for now, let's take President Mahama out of this and commend him for doing his work.
My only aspect of the conversation is when we are trying to make a storm out of a teacup over this issue. You see, it is not only the precedent of removing the Chief Justice through due process. We are also sending a sign of caution to any other person who will have the opportunity to serve as a Chief Justice of this country.
Precedent of bad behavior.
That we will not countenance anything at all in the slightest form, because you see, the judiciary, you are supposed to uphold the absolute integrity of the country. Are you getting my point? That is why you say you are the arbiter. You are the middle player. Anything that happens around this country, it comes to the table of the judiciary. So we cannot countenance any iota of indiscipline, corruption. Even if it is one Ghana city that is involved, we will hold you to the highest esteem as practicable as possible.
Are we not doing this based on convenience? We saw once upon a time when some ministers received double salary.
No.
They were made to refund it. I'm just making the point. They were made to refund it. If you want to hold people to the highest standard, why are politicians not being held to the highest standard?
The politician, when you and I have a dispute right now, do we go to a member of parliament to resolve it for us? We go to the law court. So there are different standards for measuring a politician and their behaviors and their actions and inactions. I am coming to you because they are public officers, but the future of this country is not dependent upon their actions and inactions. The future of this country and the integrity of the country is dependent on the actions and the inactions of the judiciary. It is a clear-cut definition. And we must get that into our head, that the judiciary will be measured with a different yardstick. Are you okay? Yeah. Because at the end of the day, anything that happens, we go to you. So if you cannot hold the moral grounds, who is the one we are going to run to in the case of anything?
They say point to any work she did, based on which you say, no, she was incompetent in delivering her work. You are making reference to her going on vacation, her husband receiving a payment that she was not supposed to receive, which was given to her by the judicial secretary. He said, why didn't the judicial secretary realize? Let me just make the point. Why didn't the judicial secretary realize that the wife and the child was not supposed to receive any per diem, that the husband was not supposed to receive any per diem? The judicial secretary, who is the one who releases all these funds, went ahead to make the payment. And when they received the payment, they say, hey, Chief Justice, your daughter and your husband received monies that were not supposed to receive. Why didn't even the Auditor General flag it in the first place? Even the Auditor General didn't flag it. It had to take an ordinary citizen to petition, and people are raising questions. Was this not politically motivated?
You see, when people occupy certain positions, when people occupy certain, just to come back to you, certain positions in this country, no matter how the laid down processes are or the procedures are, you know they are always able to truncate it.
So you think maybe this was flagged, but it was swept under the carpet?
That is why the lawyer was telling us that probably if we should go into the integrities of the issue, if we should receive the entire committee report, perhaps there are certain data that has happened that has even not come to the public domain. And do you also know that if the committee recommends for the removal of the Chief Justice and the president fails to act on that, do you know it can also constitute another what do we call it? Revocation grounds
for removing
the president.
So you think John Mahama had no choice?
He has no choice. The same way Nana Akufo-Addo told her that he has no choice in the removal of Charlotte Osei, the same way John Mahama doesn't have any choice.
Let me bring Mr. Richard now, and then we'll just wrap up this conversation because we need to make time for some other discussions on the show. I mean, is it not concerning to hear some members of the opposition giving an indication that what has happened is precedent, and nobody should raise a concern when someday they return to government and take a cue from it?
If there is nothing to do, what would you do?
For me, I believe that this is a clear case of Caesar's wife. I believe that it's a clear case of Caesar's wife, that Caesar's wife must live beyond reproach. So it's a signal to the justices that if the Chief Justice has been removed, then every public officer has to tread with caution. When you are doing your work, you ensure that you are doing the proper thing. Now, in terms of the threat that and the politicization, I also have a problem with even the appointment process. Okay, when we go to Nigeria, the Chief Justice is appointed by the Supreme Court justices. They actually select the Chief Justice, and it is usually the senior most. So, by their conduct, by their processes, it is known who is going to be the next Chief Justice. Okay, so you cannot spring up any surprise. No, their system is predetermined. It's clear that no, this A is the most senior. So when A retires, B is the next senior in line. So that senior takes over. But if you look at our system, the appointment is done by the president. So there's the tendency that the process will be tinted or captured as a political process. In any event, people will say yes. This Chief Justice was appointed by Akufo-Addo. Yeah. So obviously she's an NPP. Before you know, she's not an NPP. At the end of the day, the law is the law. No matter how political you are, it's sometimes really hard to throw away the law. So I think the appointment process and the nature of our system too has caused all this. So I believe that.
Yeah. And just a final one though. She's worked 22 years on the bench, so we understand that because she's been removed by the president, she's likely to be denied all of her benefit. I mean, from where you stand, based on the law, is that what the law says? She's not going to get anything.
Of course. As a Superior Court Justice, as soon as you work for 10 years in the public sector, which the bench is part of the public sector, automatically you qualify to retire on your salary as a Superior Court Justice. But this is the case that you are not retiring. You have been removed. So you did not even complete your tenure. Now, this removal process is such that as soon as it kicks in, you don't have the ambit to resign. If you recall, let me remind you of the Republic vs. High Court, Accra, the Tiger IPI case, the Justice Derry and Co., their case, the Anas case. Some of the justices wanted to resign, but they were not allowed to resign because there's a Supreme Court decision that says that the nature of this process is such that the Article 146 process is such that the moment it kicks in, you cannot stop it. It has to go through and end. So it's unfortunate.
But she can challenge this. She can challenge this, can't she? Can't she challenge it? Because after 22 years, I mean, all the work she's done for this country, and we say because her husband received per diem and the daughter received per diem, so she won't get anything. I mean,
it's unfortunate. She has no right of appeal.
She has no right of appeal.
She has no right of appeal. That is why I'm telling you that the removal process of our Chief Justice is too simple. It is too simple.
All right, lawyer, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Really appreciate your time this morning. Let me bring Doc in, and then I'll come to Richard and Paul for your final thoughts. Doc, let me just get your final thoughts on this. I mean, it's quite concerning that she won't receive anything. She's going to go home with nothing. That's quite concerning, to be fair.
I see it as unfortunate and needs to be looked at. But as it stands now, one way or the other, I think removal is so damaging, and I'm hoping that she and her family can recover from this travesty, and we're in solidarity with her, just like Sophia Akufu, who has been very objective. Thank you.
All right, Doc, thank you. Rich, for final words on this one, I mean...
Well, my only final comment on this subject matter is that, like the lawyer is saying, we from the Movement for Change, we have always been advocating that if there need be, we should consider having a second chamber And the second chamber should be made up of all people from all facets of society. And it should be based on appointments into occupying this chamber. Therefore, the appointment of a Chief Justice and IGP and other sensitive positions should be the prerogative of the second chamber.
Isn't the Council of State serving that purpose?
You see, the Council of State is not serving that purpose. The Council of State can become a rubber stamping institution, and most often they are a rubber stamping institution. Whatever the president brings to them is what they just endorse. So at the end of the day, if you have an independent second chamber, looking at some of these appointments, it may help us in the future because we are running a country. And don't forget that a time will come, Prof and Co, they'll fizzle out. A new generation will come. So it is the responsibility of Prof and their other leaders and seniors to make sure that they bequeath to us a country that is much more better than us they inherited it. But if they don't do anything by thinking out of the box and radicalizing certain aspects of our judicial process, and they allow the status quo to remain the same, that means year in, year out, ages and ages upon ages, we will still be having these challenges.
Prof.
So it is better we look at it holistically and find an absolute solution to the problem. That will be in the ultimate interest of the country.
Well, I think that solution you're talking about might be captured in the Constitutional Review Committee because they said that they are going to present their report to the president, I think, in October. Prof, let me hear your quick final thoughts, then I'll take some messages here and we'll wrap it up.
Thought is, I am not saying we should review the Constitution because we should make it difficult to punish people who misconduct themselves in office.
Yeah, of course.
I'm only saying that we need to maybe look at the Constitution regarding how we appoint them, and the appointing process maybe takes the burden of the president and places it on the people. And the removal process to a similar thing is done. I would have wished to see after this verdict, it goes to Parliament for a final determination where maybe the people can lobby through their representatives, and then we see how that reflects in
you think it should have
gone to Parliament and in a secret vote?
It should have gone to
Parliament, and then there should be a secret vote to determine whether the decision of the committee should be upheld. That way, the president can make the final decision, but then it goes there. This way, the president should have to do it, and the president did what he's supposed to do, and that is what comes with leadership. Even if he doesn't want to do it, he has to.
He has to do it. All right. Let's take some messages. This one is from Eben from Kwabenya. Says, Mr. President, Mr. President JDM, you have the power now. Let's investigate and prosecute the alleged loan taking from Rose. Okay, it has to do with the issue there. This one says, good morning. What's the message? Good morning, Mr. Host. It is sad seeing our fellow Ghanaians suffering in another country because of conflict in our country. Okay, well, and he says happy birthday to somebody there. This one says, hello. Okay, just a lot of hellos. My brother, send a message. Let's hear from you. This one says, Meshach says, the Akotia by-election result has justified the good work of President Mahama and NDC government so far. We'll continue to thank the people of Akotia for choosing development over lies and propaganda. Let me also add my voice and condemn what my National Vice Chairman, Chief Sofo Azoka, did in Akotia. We all know that Masaudu Osman is also a troublesome person when it comes to his public utterances and behavior, but Chief Azoko did not do well, he says. And he goes on to talk about some of the issues that we might not be discussing here today. This one says, good morning. This is Abdul Ghani from Makarigu from the Savannah region. This is very unfortunate. Watching those videos, I can see tears in my eyes. It is very sad. This is our mother Ghana under the leadership of President Mahama. The Binyiri land dispute in Savannah region has caused men, women, and children to become refugees. So we now have refugees in Ghana under Mahama government, he asked. Okay. Okay, this one says, good morning. When the leadership of the NPP is so corrupt that the people are targeted and some left, the leadership changed its bad tricks. Now we see our party imposing, I'm not even talking about any, okay. Let's stay to the issues, guys. I wish to commend the leadership of the nursing, I wish to commend the leadership of the Nursing Association for rendering an apology to the Honourable Minister. Yes, they did that. The Ministry of Health mentioned that in a statement. This gesture reflects humility, and he says, however, it's my considered view that Dr. Tinkran should tender his resignation as his conduct and leadership does not reflect the qualities required. And he goes on to talk about, so yeah, they went to apologize to the Minister of Health for their comment there. Then this one says, Patriotic Voices, Guaso, regards to Honorable Howard Kumsin and Honorable Catherine Afeku. It says Ghana's debt stock rises by 10 billion in just 8 months. Shows Mahama and NDC came to create, loot and share taxpayers' money. And he goes on to thank some people and say greetings to some people. Master Planner says, I agree with Honorable Suma that Kwame Nkrumah tried bridging the gap between the southern and northern Ghana by providing some basic amenities like factories, education, etc. Then he says, on the other hand, it is not true that no political party has gone on that lane. The NPP has brought free SHS, built some factories, and provided many educational infrastructure. At least we have made some inputs than the NDC in the Fourth Republic. We'll do more when we come back to power in 2029 with Dr. Baumia. Well, Prof, does not think you come back in 2029.
Not anytime soon.
Not anytime soon. Is that all what they need is to try and make the people know that conflict will not help them to solve their situation unless themselves, so they should put down the weapons and embark on peace and development, like social amenities, and just tolerate each other's views, he says. No name. Whenever the NDC is in power, Ghana is at peace. How can IGP deploy over 5,000 security personnel to Akwatia for just a by-election because of power and deploy 300 security personnel to a place where there is conflict? May God save us from some of these leaders. Isaac from Accra Query, if I got it right. Just Teacher Kujo says, Justice Gertrude Tokonu, do not worry. Those of us with discernment know that this whole petition for your removal is politically motivated and sadly supported by some of your peers from the bench. The happy thing is that he who laughs last laughs best. You will be vindicated big time and rewarded tenfold soon. You won't chew stones and your humiliation won't see another day. John Mohammed and his NDC are just executing their own agenda. And he goes on to greet Chairman Odenhill. Okay. This one, no name, says, it says, why won't the government claim the land for infrastructure and development or put up a factory that will serve the two ethnic groups to promote sustainable peace resolution, he says. Gasti from Bekum says, it is sad that within just 8 months of the NDC regime, violence has increased across the north and parts of Ghana. Instead of focusing on restoring peace, the government is busy chasing votes and targeting the Chief Justice. Even worse, so-called experts blaming the past government instead of offering real solutions. Well, Al-Hassan says that the former CJ and her supporters should know that since the position is an appointed one and not an elected one, she can be disappointed as it has just happened. She should gather some courage and strength and move on with her life in other areas since the office is not her bona fide property. Okay, I think that's all we have. Hamza from Pick Farm says we should remember that we govern by laws in this country. The former Chief Justice is not above the law of this land. We are all equal before the law of this land. Madame Charlotte Osei was removed from office based on the same Article 146 of the Constitution of the land, and no one says anything wrong about it. And I'm sure it's a point that the law is the law and nobody is above the law. That is the conclusion of the matter. Thank you very much for tuning in. And also to all of you who watched on Facebook, also thank you very much. We've seen some of your comments. Really appreciate it. Also, big thank you to Franco Trading Enterprise for supporting News Flash segment. And also remember that the EcoBank Joy Business SME Fair is still on. Registration is still open. So it's taking place 31st of October to the 2nd of November. Call if you're a small business and register to be part of the fair, all right? Call us. Just send us a message on our WhatsApp line and we'll help you with the registration, or call the Joy FM front desk line and you get to be part of it, all right?